So the cult that I grew up in, and I grew up Catholic, and my parents, towards when I was in college, my mom specifically, became obsessed with Pope John Paul II's theology of the body, and more specifically, Christopher West's interpretation of that. So if you've ever heard much about Christopher West and theology of the body, you know that, like many cults, like many religions, same thing, they control your sexuality, right? They control what kind of sex you can have, when you can have it, etc., because sex is a physical embodiment of the connection between God and the humans on earth, aka the church. So God and the church, they are connected basically in such an intimate way that sexuality is supposed to represent it, the connection we have with God. So sex is holy, therefore it has a lot of parameters around it. So the specific parameter that I was brainwashed into is sex only has one very narrow definition, and that is penis and vagina, and that is the only sex that counts. And only the man has to finish. It doesn't matter if the woman finishes, but copulation has been completed when the man finishes, and they have to finish inside your vagina. So that means that you cannot have oral or hand sex by itself, even in marriage. It can only be leading up to the event of the man finishing inside the vagina. So that was the narrow definition of sexuality that I have been subscribed to. And then since birth control is not allowed, we had to use something called natural family planning, which basically means you monitor your own cervical fluid to see if you're fertile or not, basically. I did learn a lot about my body in that way. I mean, it doesn't apply anymore because I have endometriosis, so I'm on birth control consistently without any placebo weeks, so which is great for my gender, not having any periods. And also, like, I would be vomiting, like, kneeling on the floor in front of the toilet from how bad my period cramps were, and once or twice I went to the emergency room because I thought something was wrong. So basically, though, it was very, very heavily monitored, like how to have sex, when to have sex, what kind of sex to have. And I subscribed to all of this. I really did. I was like, this makes me angry, but this is what God wants, so therefore I'm going to do it. And the pressure that this puts on your sex life, like waiting for marriage, only being able to have sex when you're not fertile, and not being allowed to acknowledge any of your own sexual preferences at all, really bad recipe. It was really difficult. Like, I had these expectations of what sex would be because I thought it was ordained by God that I marry my spouse, and that therefore sex would be wonderful no matter what, because we were compatible, because God wanted us to get married. But we are polyamorous, so like a lot of people sexualize that, but that means, you know, we can have relationships with other people outside of each other, just like anybody can have more than one friend. If you're polyamorous, you can have more than one partner. And I believe that it's toxic, compulsive heteronormativity to force everyone to be monogamous. I believe some people are monogamous, but I believe that forcing it as the only option, or even the dominant option in society, is kind of inhumane. So my views have changed quite a bit compared to what I was formed to believe. Once I realized what non-binary actually was, once I realized that not everybody feels like they don't connect to their gender, and that not everyone is just performing gender, and I realized, oh, I am this, I am non-binary, it all started to kind of slip. The mask started to slip. So I was like, so there's a word for this experience I've had my whole life of like not really feeling like a woman. There's a word for that, and I am that. You know, I just thought that's how everybody felt, but it's not how everybody feels. It's how non-binary people feel. So it was really eye-opening, and that was kind of the first crumb that really helped me. You know what? Actually, no. That was the last straw crumb that kind of was like, hey, maybe this God stuff isn't real. The first ever time I had that feeling was when I learned Santa wasn't real, because I had gaslit myself into believing in Santa because it was important to my mom, and I could tell it was important to my mom that we believe in Santa. I don't know how I could tell, but I just, like, psychologically, I just knew that it was very important to her. And that turned out to be true. Like, her mom told her Santa didn't exist as a punishment. So, therefore, she wanted us to believe, like, as long as we could. And when Santa didn't exist, I was like, man, I have gaslit myself into believing this against the evidence of my own senses for so long. How am I even supposed to know that God exists? Because maybe I'm doing the same thing. So that was number one. Number two was when I started doing research on single issue voter. A lot of Republicans are single issue voters. They vote about abortion and they don't consider anything else because they consider abortion to be mass murder, and obviously mass murder is not okay. So therefore they have to vote Republican, which of course serves the people in power very well because they don't care why you voted Republican, they just care that you voted Republican. So I started doing my research and realized that fewer people die when abortions are accessible. That was really an eye-opening moment. When I looked at the science, I showed this to my mom, and my mom said, that is tampered. That's not real science. They just had an agenda. And I realized that my mom could just reject any science that she wanted if it didn't go with her narrative. And that was really eye-opening for me. I was like, wow, maybe these people are not actually making informed decisions, and maybe they're just being told what to do. Because if your actual goal was for less people to die, you would vote for abortion access. Because a lot of the reasons that people get abortions is because the life of the mother is threatened. And that can be either directly threatened by medical issues, which you won't know that you'll have medical issues in pregnancy until you actually get pregnant. Their health would be severely impacted, or their lifestyle does not support having a kid. Now, my mom fell into this third category of, like, not being able to financially support a kid. These were my first eye-opening experiences into why religion is all a cult, and why religion is all about controlling and all about making you doubt your instincts and the evidence of your senses. Because to be a young person in an intimate relationship with somebody and to not be allowed to have sex, even though you've been together for 7 years, that makes you want to get married. It made me want to get married. I just wanted to get married. I just wanted to have sex, you know? And obviously I love my spouse very much, and that's not the only reason I was in the relationship, but it is the main reason that I wanted to have an actual marriage, was because I was tired of waiting for sex, which my body was telling me was a normal next step. So yeah, just a little bit about religion and sexuality.